I decided to edit, analyze, and add my notes to Melanie Gibbs' police interview with Rexburg Police. This will be the first full half of the interview. I've condensed it to 30 minutes.
I want to talk to you a little bit about these castings. What else were they referred to as?
It's been a while since I thought about it, so you know the idea of casting out is to help evil spirits leave the body, right? That's the whole premise from Christ.
Well, I've never heard of it being, well, okay, so I know that
let's go back
Christ
to Christ.
casted out demons, and
Yeah.
I understand that.
That's the premise, that's all. That's all it is. I mean, that's what the idea is to get, if there is an evil spirit in you, then you ask in the name of Christ that evil spirit leave. That's what it's about. Oh, I don't agree with it, but I want you to know that's what the idea. Anything I tell you, I don't agree with. But that's how it came about in the time. So how it started was this. We were in Sulema's house, probably in January. So there was Christina and Nicole. Remember them?
Mm-hmm.
And Serena was there. I was there, Sulema was there, and Lori was there. And maybe Sulema's daughter might have been in the house, but I don't remember. And so she was talking to everybody about that Charles was now had this evil spirit in him, okay? So that was kind of what they were talking about.
Okay, tell me about that evil spirit. Did the evil spirit have a name?
Yeah, remember we talked about it. It's the Ned guy.
Right.
That's what
Okay.
they said he was. He was this Ned person, okay? All right. So she's kind of talking to the girls, and they're all kind of talking about what's going on. And she's like, I don't know what we're supposed to do about this. How do we get, how do I do that? I don't understand. So nobody has any information about casting out at this point. And then Christina, she starts talking about something. This was all beyond me because I did energy work and I had energy work before. I don't know how to do it. I'm not sure. But Christina started talking about. I don't know how to remember. I don't know how to talk about. Somebody started talking about casting out somehow. And I didn't have any comment to make to it. I was like, I don't know. And then they were trying to figure out. She was trying to help solve the problem. Like this Ned's name. How do we get him out? Or I don't know if that's right. We're talking about, but yeah.
Remind me how she knew that was Ned.
Okay, that was, remember when Chad made the phone call? Lori and I were in her house, one of her houses she lived in. So we just did that podcast, they left. And Chad calls and says, hey, I want to let you know that I did some research and figured out that this Ned, so Ned, Schneider, thank you. And Ned Schneider is in him. And she was taken back a little bit because it was a new concept for her. She didn't know about that this could happen. So this was introduced from Chad, absolutely 100% sure of that. So then when she came together in January with all these girls, she was talking about this problem she had about this Ned person now coming in. And she said that her reasoning for that was that Satan was breaking eternal law and that he could now do this, like he had some kind of power to do this. And so now these evil spirits were able to get into these bodies. So anyway, as we talked around the girl, they were trying to figure out, well, how do we do this? How do we get this figured out? So they sat there and talked about it. And a lot of the wording that they used, it had to do with features that they learned from energy work. Different weapons and different stones or different things that they had learned through a spiritual means, talking about, hey, and they came up with this stuff. I did not come up with it because I didn't even know what to say about it yet.
Did they come up with it, or did Lori assign them something?
No, at first they talked about it as a group. They were like, well, what can we do? And it seemed like Christina started bringing it out first, actually. She's the one, and I'm trying to remember the words, but I can't really remember what she said. I just remember I remember her sitting down with her one day and go, what can we do to help you, Lori? She was sincere, and I was thinking, I have no idea. I don't know what that looks like. And so anyway, they started talking, get different ideas, and she was told that she had this priesthood power. Now that Moroni gave it to her in the temple, she suddenly had this priesthood power.
Right.
That women were now getting it, because you know that they don't have it in church, right?
Did you find that odd?
Yeah, everything's odd. But at the same time, because I was on this, so I had listened to some podcasts she had learned. So it wasn't super odd for a person that had listened to Julie Rowe or Mike Stroud, because they were talking about how to, now if you go back and listen to those two, She doesn't come up with this stuff herself. This has been coming up by other people, okay?
Well, right, and I know that the big picture is all the weird, but when you hear, because you're LDS,
Yeah.
when you hear something as in Moroni appeared to her in the temple and gave her priesthood powers, what did you think about that?
Well, let me back up to when I first met her to help you understand how I got involved with her. Jason Oswald was speaking to her. He told me, "Here's my spiritual, and she was talking about something, it was really good, like natural things, something that I enjoy. Anyway, after she's not Melanie, and then I came out, and she came out, and she was so upset to me, and she was like, she's just talking about shop, and love, and her change of heart, and I said, well, I've been changed to Christ, and my experience is a normal experience of somebody would have, but she was like mirroring me, and I thought, I think she's mirroring me because I didn't know that then, I didn't know her, so I would have no way of knowing. But anyway, she was like, oh, I've been changed by Christ. And I said, well, I have too. And it wasn't in a more significant way than maybe what I experienced at church. It was a beautiful experience that I had. And so, but there was nothing odd about it. It was just beautiful, And so she said that she had the same, and she was super excited. And then she said, well, I said, you must have been through a really, a lot of challenges in your life to be able to have these experiences. She goes, well, she says, I've had some special experiences with the Lord in the temple. And she might have said Moroni at the time too. She might have. I can't remember if that was the next time I saw her or not. And I was like, wow, what have you been through? And she's she was bringing the story about all of her trials, and they sounded genuine to me. I did not think she would. I don't think people are manipulating. That's one of my weaknesses. I don't manipulate. I don't know how to. So I was so foreign to it that I was like, oh, she can't be lying to me. She sounds just like me as far as my testimony of Christ. Now, not all the crazy stuff. We just had one testimony in church. So she tells me, well, because we had listened to Mike Stroud, he talked about 144,000 and about how people are going to be called to help be instruments in God's hands of bringing people together, like the lost tribes and different things in the last days. And so she says, well, I've had these experiences, and I know that I am part of the 144,000. The Lord sealed me his in the temple kind of thing. I didn't necessarily disbelieve it. It wasn't a new thought for me because I've listened to different podcasters talk about some of their experiences, and I didn't think that they were lying either because they sounded like it matched Mormon doctrine. All of it did. Because I read the scriptures a lot, and I thought, well, I know about these things, but somebody's actually having them. And so, but people can have real experiences, but somebody can take that and act like that's their own. Sure. And I think that's what she did. She took some information that could or couldn't have been true. I don't know if the guy had it or if he was deceived. I don't know that personally. But anyway, she learned a lot about it. In Julie Rowe, they talked about casting out. They talked about when evil spirits, you put your arm to the square, you cast out, you use, and then talked about love is your most powerful weapon. Different weapons. He would say different weapons. I don't know if he described them, but he just talked about love as the most powerful weapon we can use against the adversary. So I don't know. Maybe she took that, and then she took Julie Rowe's freaked out stuff, but she's whacked. But she was heavily into the energy work, and a lot of these things were like coming through all these weapons and different things and evil spirits around you. So I remember one time she told me when she was in Hawaii, before I ever met her, so this was when she was living there, she recalled a moment. She goes, I remember, Melanie, I woke up, an angel woke me up and said, you need to email Julie Rowe and tell her that she's a true servant. I was like, oh, I think we're explaining to me, and she leaving us, and anyway, she said she's like, I right on Facebook, I'm really email, so when her and I met that day, she's like, I know that Moroni, she must have told me about Moroni, or he was the Savior. I know that he's called me to be part of that 144,000 to help other women. I'm to gather other women, something like that, and help them be part of the gathering kind of thing. Okay? So her and I go to the temple. We go to the Phoenix temple because I remember the Gilbert temple was closed. So we're going in there. If you're LDS, you're going to be surprised. This is where the deception really began. I go into the temple, and I'm going in the dressing room, getting our white clothes on, and she is in the dressing stall, and I come out and I stand behind. They have an arch window in the Phoenix temple. Feel my head, and she goes, oh, it's happening. And I was like, yeah, it's really hot on top of it. I didn't have a fever. Nowhere else on my body was hot. And it wasn't because the sun was coming through. It was really like this heat. And it lasted for, I don't know, like a minute or two. Mm. And she's like, wow, it's happening. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty awesome. I'm thinking that's good. And so anyway, we go into a couple of different rooms. I don't want to share too much because it's the temple. Right. But anyway, she thinks that she has the power to ordain me at that point. To be part of this 144,000. And so she says a little prayer. That's her thing, her little prayers. And
did she say she got the keys to ordain you?
Yeah, from the Lord himself and from Moroni. Herself in the temple, in the initiatories, in a certain location in the initiatories. And the interesting thing, I told this to Rob, The same place that Sulema said she saw the Lord was the same place he said. And I was like, how did that happen where she said the same place? And he goes, well, Melanie, people can have some psychological word. I don't remember what to call it. So some psychological word that she had this experience. And I was like, well, I never had anything like that. So I don't have the experience they do because I don't have visionary experiences. That's not me. But that's not my gift. So I just assume that because they have, they knew more than me. Well, if they can see that, I can't see it. Maybe I don't doubt that people can have gifts like that. I'm very much a believer in that. Yeah. So that was a bit on the odd side. I'm like, oh, yeah, so that was that. So that's where confidence came from. Because I'm just, oh my God, that happens to me. So I had to, I remember things like, oh, see, revelation, get rid of them. Don't remember, don't go back to your out of here. God, I was on your team. Sure. And I cried to the Lord. I said, I cheated on you. I broke my heart because I was that absolutely gobsmacked by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with these castings, and the first one you're involved in was at Zelena's house, and
I can't remember if they did it that night or the next day, or I don't remember, but it was.
Was it still at Zelena's house? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Pretty sure.
And that was that just for Charles?
Oh, absolutely, because that's the only person they knew had that issue at the time, according to their pretend revelation.
Describe to me how
they did it?
How they did it.
Okay, so they were trying to figure out first how to do it, and so they were all coming up with different ideas, and I wasn't familiar with their vernacular. They would say things like, you know, like Melanie would coin the phrase probably like, some kind of malachite or something after a while. Like malachite's a gem. Mm-hmm. So they thought that gem had powers. You know how like in the chakra world people get into stones and stuff like that? They kind of brought that into that. So they thought that had the power. And then...
Those malachite rings, or the malachite stone?
Well, she eventually got that, yeah, but that was... Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, right. Like the malachite stone. And then I remember Serena having a moment where she was like, we just need to ask, I don't know, it's a question. I remember it triggered something like, we need to ask permission for something. Anyway, sorry, it's been too long. And it was weird that something happened that night that was strange. Sulema and was it Serena? It's almost like they got attacked by an evil spirit. Like all of a sudden, Sulema's sitting there talking, and all of a sudden she can't breathe. Like she's like, I'm having a hard time. I'm like, what is that about? You know, and then Serena, it seemed like something happened to her where something happened to her, and Nicole, or maybe it was Nicole. I know Nicole had something with Nicole's a sweet, gentle soul. If you ever met her, and she just all of a sudden got really depressed and really heavy and quiet. So anyway, they're obviously open in darkness anyway. So they would say, well, anytime darkness comes after you, it's because you do the right thing. So it's an oppositional idea, right? And so anyway, they would just basically, she would raise her arm to the square, Lori would, and then she would say through her priesthood power, which she believed she had the patriarchal power, which was higher than the Melchizedek power. Okay, sorry, this is confusing. I'm
following. Just following.
And Chad would help groom her into these beliefs and ideas. He would help her believe more and more, like, you're the most powerful woman in the world, whatever. Each one of them had like a little something to say, like how they could help in a loving manner. It wasn't like an evil or a dark, like a yucky kind of a voice. It was or I'm mad at you kind of a voice. It was like, come to the light, or you know, something like that. And so the only part I pitched in was my testimony of Jesus Christ. I didn't have anything else to offer than that, because I was like, well, Jesus did this, and look at what's his name, and look at Paul the apostle, and you know, and I was just trying to share my little part, because I was like, all these people, I don't know. And so anyway, that's just how she did it. And so she would, and I think she kind of did it more on her own as she got more closer to Chad, and everybody's kind of started leaving the group. You know, like Nicole and what's her name, Christina were out, and then Serena was out early. Thank goodness on their part they were out early. And it's only because Laura was getting jealous, or you know how the jealousy can get in. She was worried because Serena called Chad too much, and then she was like, well, she has more intentions than this, and they cut her out of the group, just stupid stuff like that.
So you think that they kept Serena in the group because Lori was jealous?
Well, I think he would say, this is how it started. He'd say, you know, she keeps calling me. Serena keeps calling me, asking more and more questions. And then he would tell that to Lori, and Lori would talk to him about that and say, oh, she wants to learn more power, and she's actually now getting dark because she's getting like Julie Rose, something stupid like that. And then so pretty soon they had deemed her more dark, and she just needed to. They just cut her off. Basically means I'm not going to talk to you anymore. So she went out to me and she said, "What happened?" She was like, "She was like, everything was so bad." I told her the story, everything kept getting and she was like, I went to the temple. She's like, this. Sabrina, no, things lie. She was so nuts. She's so nuts. She's a very beautiful and amazing woman, but she was just sucked into it. And so, and it had a lot to do with the preparation work, had a lot to do with learning things outside of Chad and Lori before we got like, and that prepared Lori to meet Chad. And we're going to email. It's something like, and she was saying, I think that her podcast changed her life. She was talking to these people. And, but she's like, I wish she was from this podcast, and then she had easy. Oh, yeah, right there. So that first day, then she was like, there, these professionals, which actually found out, Chad is doing so they found her connected a lot more. They were that must be a lot of that's because he was just working on his whole. He was going and she was that up, and then he started reading about Susan Brennan, and he got her up, because he was the person that really got her up, kept doing this probably money, stuff, so money, and I wanted to email so this is what the castings really were about, is to invite the spirits to leave, or with their so-called power or their, things that they would bring. I never thought this was like a huge deal. I mean, I talked a little bit about it before. I always said too, it's like we did prayer, she did prayers to help cast or something. I don't know how I said it, but to me, it has no effect. There was no power in what she did, so it had nothing to do with anything, because it was all by Satan. Now, when Julie Clement got involved, I remember one night we were at Lori's, the last house she was in before Charles died. I think he was still alive. And I remember they were doing a prayer, and Julie Clement and Sulema with their, I don't know, energy, they both do energy work. They're saying, she's like, I saw this dragon, something like this, and I know Sulema said she saw that later, and I didn't see anything. So that's just what they imagined in their, I don't know, this, some evil spirit tricking them, something.
How many castings do you think that you were involved in?
Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to make a guess, because I wouldn't know.
What would you guess?
Maybe 10? Maybe. I'm not sure. And they were just for chat, I think most of them were on Charles, and not the kids. And Tammy, I mean, I know they probably did. I don't know what they did with the kids. I don't have any idea on that part. I'm not sure on Tammy. Maybe?
Let me ask you about Tammy then.
Yeah.
Was Chad there, or was it just Lori?
Well, they did. There was one, I can't remember who it was though. Sometimes these things, I don't remember all of it, because sometimes I was often detached from a lot because I was above my, I can't remember it.
And this was after Charles died?
This was right after he died, when we had that little meeting, remember? I said we got together one time at Charles's house.
So it would be like
July?
July probably?
Yeah. But he died July
11th.
7th. I always try to remember 7/11, okay. So, yeah. Yeah.
You recall how soon after that was?
Weeks.
Weeks.
Within weeks.
But this casting was for what reason?
To continue to help the spirits that are in the bodies to talk them out of leaving their bodies.
Okay. What bodies?
I think it could have been Tammy. It might have been Brandon, maybe. That's the only two I could think of. That would be the only two I can think of, because if they said anything about that, I have no memory of that. So no memory. And definitely, well, because not JJ, definitely, because JJ wasn't deemed a zombie until, September, right?
Okay.
So they would definitely not have done it about JJ. So probably Tammy and Brandon, because they said Brandon was definitely at this high level, dark.
I don't want you, I appreciate saying it was probably
Yeah.
either one of these two or maybe both. But
Yeah.
I need you to remember who was the cast, who was trying to cast it. If it was both, fine. But you know, if it was just
I know
one,
it's.
think about it.
I can't really even remember what Chad Lori. I remember she always used her priesthood power, and then she was like, "Go ahead, take it over, Zulema." I remember that.
Refresh my memory when you were up here in Idaho.
September.
You dated in September.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a casting done at Lori's house?
Not that I can recall. I've tried to remember, like, do we have any cat? Not that I recall.
Or did you have a, how about a prayer? Were you guys got together and just had a prayer or anything like that?
Well, normal prayers like on the flute or something like that. I don't recall. I mean, I don't remember.
So as far as the castings, none of them took place in Idaho that you were present at?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
I'm doing my best to remember,
I know.
but it's horrifying to think about it, but.
So the ones you may have been involved in were the ones here in Arizona, and that would have been at Lori's house,
Yeah.
Zulema's house.
Mm-hmm.
Where else?
I remember when she was in Charles's house, the one in Houston, or was it Houston or no, the other city? I forget what city it was. Remember she lived in Florida and in Texas? Remember that? I remember she was, I can't remember if it seemed like she was doing the phone with Chad. I remember her talking about Charles because he was in the house. She was really, that's right, she was really into Charles's. She kept saying, "Oh, he's getting broken down. He's getting broken down. He's getting weaker. He's getting weaker. We're doing things to help, get him weaker, get his, spirit out of his body," kind of a thing. They were like working on him. I remember that a lot.
So let me ask you this. Were there any castings that you weren't present, you were just on the phone?
So there was, in the beginning, there was a phone call. That's right. Good. Thank you for reminding me. Serena, Zulema. At one point, Melanie joined in,
Melanie
and Nicole.
again, or
Melanie Boudreau. Oh, wait. Sorry, I remember one. Let me just figure that one right now. I'm sorry. It's running all over the place. This is not enjoyable for me.
Sorry.
This sucks.
We'll
Anyway.
get through it.
So yes, there was this phone thing because she was doing it through Zoom. It was a Zoom thing. And so they were like everybody had their own little parts. Like I just said, like mine, I just talked about Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
But theirs one was over fire elements or something, wind, fire, earth. I don't know, just they came up with some funky words. And not that they were horrible words, they were just not usual, putting them together in a sentence kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unusual. So yeah, they did that a few times on the phone. And then she just Lori's just kind of got tired of dealing with them. She's like, "Oh, this person talks too much." She get irritated with people. Like, I think she was always jealous. Anyway, so yeah, that was on the phone. And I don't know how many times, but I'd say a handful. We tried it maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe. And then one time, okay, so the house she moved in, the first time, Alex's house, right after she left Charles the first time,
Mm-hmm.
she went to Alex's house for a while. She had Serena on the phone, and Melanie was new to it, and she really didn't know what was going on, so it was the first time Melanie was exposed to it. And I remember we were holding hands, and I remember she said, "My hands got really hot, and then they got really cold." I was like, okay, not my experience, right? And then Serena kind of related to that. They were talking on the phone, and that was the night she came up with this idea, this map thing of zombies in the world. Arizona, Utah, Idaho, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then she's like, "Okay, Chad says," and she'd be on the phone, how many zombies in this state?" He would say, "Okay, there's, I don't know, grab a number, 100 in this state, something in this state, and then throughout the whole world." And so he got this, like, these people, or these entities are in other people's bodies. So her idea was, it was for her to get rid of the zombies. The idea was for her thought she had the power to cast out, she'd say in the name of whatever, and with her power. And then you would check, "Oh, there's none left in the state," So anyway, that's how she did. So anyway, I remember that conversation was kind of going on that night. And then, I don't know the heck they were talking about that night. I don't know who, I'm sure it was Charles. And I think it was probably for the world too. It probably was. And anyway, everybody was just holding hands. And anyway, they all said their little, whatever they could come up with, they think of that would help encourage this spirit to leave, or encourage them. And it wasn't done it didn't seem like it was done out of any unkindness or anything like that. It was just a matter of, like, if you were to invite somebody to leave. I think they started using different weapons that had light in them to help that encourage that spirit to come out of the body by those words, but it had no power. So I haven't worried about it since I've left Lori. I was like, she doesn't have any power. She can't hurt me. I'm not worried about her. So obviously I didn't believe in it to the level worrying about my life, right? Yeah.
My understanding, and we may hit a little bit on this in our first interview, but my understanding is that the spirits, in order for the spirit to be taken out of the body, has to be cast out. However, if that body is or the spirit in that body is a certain darkness, just casting it out does prevent it
From coming out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, in certain ways that body can be destroyed.
Body or the spirit?
Or spirit.
I don't know if it can be destroyed.
The spirit?
I don't know if they can be destroyed. I don't know. Father
You never heard
destroys
anything?
spirits.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not saying they believe that. I'm just saying you and I personally, I don't think they can be destroyed.
When we talk about this, I'm trying to.
Okay, I wasn't
dive into-
sure.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to dive into their world.
Okay, their
what
world.
they're
Sorry,
thinking.
because you're
Right.
sharing personal. So okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that they thought they could destroy them either, though. They were just trying to get them to the point where, I don't
If
know,
I
maybe
had
they
a
wanted
dark,
one.
dark spirit in a body,
Yeah,
I mean a dark spirit,
yeah.
and that body, or excuse me, that spirit is cast out of that body. What enters that body next? Can it be a light spirit or can it be a dark spirit?
Oh, so that did occur with Charles, they said. So, okay, this was the first Charles, they said. So, okay, this was the first thing, is they were trying to cast out normal, like casting out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they said, oh, no, it's still in there. Chad would deem it still in there. We can't get him out. They're breaking eternal law, right? This is what we're saying.
Okay.
That casts his personal spirit out and then put a new one in. So then they finally said, we got him out finally. Through our priesthood powers, we got him out. Now, who's the next one? Garrett? Garrett was the next one that came into Charles. And this was supposed to be a more advanced, darker spirit.
Okay, so if
According
the body,
to him.
if the body keeps receiving dark spirit,
Yeah.
does that body have to be destroyed?
Oh, no, well, not, see, they were learning. It was a never figured out. This was Chad pretending more and more along the way, is my opinion now. It's like, he was just like, okay, that didn't work, well, what can I come up with to keep Lori happy, right? And let me just figure this out and come up with, I don't know if he even, played all the way through, because Lori was so pushy about being with him, and I think he was so infatuated, which you and I both know he was with her. I think he just got more creative in his darkness. And I think it just went on line by line by line. I don't think, that's my feeling. I could be wrong. Maybe he had a whole, some people say, oh, a writer, knows the end of it. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this then.
With these castings, we know that, I think we know, it was with Charles. They tried casting Charles.
Yeah,
They, at one point, tried casting Brandon.
I think so. It
And-
feels familiar, I'll just say that. Because they deemed him as really dark after, right about the time probably either right after Charles died, because then they were trying to help Melanie, because now she would go hook her hooks into Melanie. She got totally taken out by Lori. And Brandon is all these things, and he's now, not only is he dark, he's actually, we found out more about him. So first he's this. Oh, wait, we discovered more about him. Now now we know he's actually a high level, he's like up there with Hitler kind of thing, right?
Right.
And yeah,
Did they ever say that?
he was one of the Hitler crowd. He was one of the group that associated with Hitler. Mm-hmm.
Was he?
Yeah, did you know that?
I must have missed that somewhere.
Yeah, no, you're not missing much.
But Tammy,
Oh, so Tammy was, let's see, that's a good one, because that one's different. Because she was sweet, right?
Well,
But that's a good thing, thank you, because I gotta route it around. Tammy, what would they have said about her? Because she didn't have an evil spirit in her, so then at the very end she did. And who, because it was, she probably told me like once, so it's not like it was a lot of times on Tammy, to my
Okay.
knowledge. What did she say about Tammy? I don't know that she, I remember she said right in September, oh, there's evil spirits starting to work on Tammy now. Tammy's good, but they're not in her yet. They're like working on her. And they're coming around the house, something like that, and then she had this knock at the door one night, and Tammy wakes up to go see the house, and of course Chad and Lori would say, oh, that was Julie Rose's spirit that came and knocked on the door.
Okay, you lost me right there.
I didn't know if this was, I didn't share this with somebody. I really feel like it's come out somewhere along the journey.
It probably is. But you gotta understand, man, there's so much that's coming out here. Sometimes we have to keep it straight.
I don't blame you. That's why I keep saying, call me. If you have like a brain cramp, Melanie can help me sort me out, because I can at least I got my memory.
Oh, yeah, that's why we're here.
I know, but I was just saying, when you're going through stuff and you're going through all this stuff, you need to keep it collective. Ask me, because I'm going to tell the truth. Nobody's going to tell it like me.
Tell me again about the knocking on the door.
So something about one night there was this is what Chad would tell Lori, that Tammy woke up to a knock at the door, and then he would say, maybe to Julie, I don't know, I mean to his wife, I don't know, but he said, she told me that he said it was Julie's spirit knocking at the door, that's what woke her up. So that was one indication